Hey guys, what is happening? This is your therapist, favorite therapist, hopefully, James Perkins coming to you. Hope your day has been well. Man, I'm not going to keep you very briefly, but I just want to talk with you about this brief thought that I had that I was prompted to talk about for Wellness Wednesday, condensed edition, as I was sharing with a friend this past week. Again, my name is James Perkins, counselor, therapist, coach. As you're coming on in, let me know where you're chiming in from, even if you're listening to this by replay. And I would love to know where you're chiming in from so I can greet you. And what I briefly wanted to talk about tonight is reminding you of this reality that you are where you need to be. Now, I know that's a loaded statement. You're like, what? I am where I need to be. Yes, you are where you need to be. I was having a conversation with a fellow therapist, and we were talking about this reality that so many of the times, as we work with clients, and even for our own lives, we feel, what's going on, Veronica? Good to see you, girl. We feel like we should be further on. Um, we feel like we should be further on than we are in the current space that we are. And I get that. When you feel like, man, you've wasted time, or you just didn't know what you didn't know to take advantage of opportunities, um, that could be hard to kind of grapple with. And so you feel like, man, I am not where I want to be. And you feel some way about that. Or you feel like there's something opposing you, keeping you from getting where you need to go. So you feel like I'm being held back from point B because of some opposition I'm facing at the point that I'm at. And I get all of those. But I think sometimes what we fail to consider, um, is the reality that all of what we need to get from point A. Hey, baby. Um, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I was, talking with my wife. I'm sorry, y'all. This is what happens when she comes on. She tell me, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey," and um, what was I saying? See, she distracted me. Um, we sometimes forget, and I remind myself of this as well, that all of what we need to get from point A to point E, from point A to point B, requires us to take all of what we've experienced, all of what we um, have seen, have heard, from our observation, from reading, from our own relational experiences. It requires us to have the growth from that to transition to point B. Uh, so to make this a little bit more clear, we all have um, aspirations, dreams, goals, desires, and we're always working towards hopefully trying to improve ourselves so that we can get to our destination. What we oftentimes fail to consider is that the growth that we need, is so important for the moment that you're in. And although you may feel like you want to get further, we need to soak in the moment and the experience and the growth of where we're at. Because one of the things that we don't consider is that it is not, we actually harm ourselves by us getting to a place that we're not prepared for. So you get to a good place, you get to your destiny, but you're not prepared for it because you tried to rush the current experience of where you're at. Um, I have a vision of building a 7-figure company. I'm not there yet. There have been moments I'm like, this is not happening fast enough. But we were reminded as I shared with my friend about how all of what is going to take for me to show up at the level that I need to show up when I am at that level, making that a type of money, having a type of influence and impact with people, all of that is going to demand that I take every experience, that I take the growth from the stage that I'm at right now. And so I just wanted to jump on it and briefly encourage people, remind you that you are where you need to be in this moment. You are where you need to be in this moment. Whatever it takes to have you understand that you are where you need to be in this moment, I hope you get a revelation, an understanding of that. And I hope it takes the burden of you trying to rush to the season. Although it may be painful, there's something to grasp, to understand as you move through your current season of life. And what better way to set yourself up for success than to ask yourself, what is it that I need to learn? What is it that I can take from this experience that is going to help me show up in a whole new level in whatever my next is, whatever my next assignment is? How can what I'm facing right now benefit me so that I carry the momentum of where I am in this moment to the next moment that I'll be in? And so that requires maturity, right? That requires you to be able to say to yourself, I'm going to take this moment for what it's worth and learn what I can, grow where I can. And when I've done all of that, what you'll find out is that you're ready. And you'll often find out that you actually are already in the process of transitioning to that next place. Most times we don't realize that transition is never physical. Transition is always psychological. William Bridges talks about this in his book on transition. And my transition expert, some of you may already know him, Sean Marshall, call him the transition man, talks about this idea that oftentimes we think we are making transition from one thing to a next, but really what we're actually making are just changes. Because you can change a job, you can change from one job to another, but you can take the old habits that you had from your old job into your new job. So you haven't made a transition into a new thing, you just made a change. Transition requires you to say, hey, what can I learn? What have I learned from this experience that is going to help me in my next one? So transition is primarily psychological in nature, in that it requires you to make a decision from within yourself, within your own mind, about what you're going to do. And when you're able to make a transition, you give yourself so much power when you're able to make a transition well. And so you can make a transition and it doesn't have to be big. I think sometimes we forget that transitions, us making moves, we're so fascinated in our culture with making big moves, being on the grind and hustling, and all those things are good. But sometimes the biggest transition that you can make in your life is to say, you know what? I'm going to bank on myself. I'm going to find value and worth in myself, and I'm going to step more fully into who God has called me to be. I may not know what that looks like, but I'm making a decision within myself to say, you know what? I'm going to do all I can to become all of who I can become. And so that's a big decision. That is a transition. When we take our personal power and say to ourselves, man, I'm going to make this decision that I'm going to switch from one frame of mind to another frame of mind. Those are big transitions, and they inevitably hopefully work the implications of the decisions that we make within our mind about who we are, what we're worth, what we perceive about ourselves. Those implications hopefully works itself out in into our everyday living. And if you need help with understanding and connecting what the implications are, then obviously you can reach out to me because I'm your favorite therapist, right? So you can go to jamesperkins.help, click Talk with James, and schedule an appointment with me. But we need to remind ourselves that we are enough for the moment that we're at right now, and that you're going to make a decision that I'm going to grow where I'm at. I'm going to learn the experience that I need to learn, and I'm going to move forward from there. So that's all I have for you tonight. I just want to remind you, absolutely, Camila, when you make a decision, that's perfect way to say that. We have to make a conscious decision that I'm going to invest in myself, that I'm going to invest in myself, because that's the only person I can bank on that I have complete 100% control over is myself, are my decisions, are my thoughts, are my emotional responses to what I face in life. We have control over that. I think one of the best things God has given us is the ability to choose, to decide. He's given us volition, free will, and we should never scoff at the reality that, or scoff at the power that comes with the power of choice, that we have the ability to choose and decide. One of the fascinating things about our human experience is that out of all the living created beings on the earth, humans are all the only creatures with the capacity for storytelling. We are the only creatures with the capacity to change our perspective, to change our story, to change our mind. I think that's unique because all of the other creatures that God has created, they act off instinct. They act off who God has created them to be. And um, I remind myself that because God made me distinct, um, Rex, thanks, bro. Thanks, man. Um, I remind myself of that reality that I always have the capacity to change my story, to change what I believe about myself, about others, and about what I'm facing, about what I'm experiencing. And so I remind myself, I remind my clients of that we all have the capacity to change our narrative and change our story. And because you can change your narrative, you can change your story. You have the capacity to create massive change in your life because you have the ability to change your story, to change your perception, to come into a fuller alignment of who God has created you to be. Because as I often say, that all you are to become, you already are. Everything that God wanted you to do, He already prepackaged you with. So He's already giving you everything that you need. I love, can't think of the actual missing the passage, but essentially the verse is God has given us everything that pertains to life and godliness. So He's given He's given us everything we need to live our life and to live a godly life. So He's already prepackaged everything within us that we need for the assignment that is created for us to do. And so it's our job is a matter of unearthing, um, of self-discovery, of uncovering all of what He's already placed inside of us. And that is a job that requires introspection. It requires conversation. That's one of the benefits of marriage, is that you get to have conversation um, with your spouse, hopefully, around conversations related to purpose and vision, and they serve as a tool to help you self-reflect and to see things in a different light and help you to become hopefully the best version of who God has created you to be. So that's all I have for you tonight. And I hope you'll take what I've said to heart. If you're listening to this by replay, again, please let me know where you're chiming in from. I'd love to greet with you. If you want to connect with me, I would love to do that with you. You've heard me talk about several different things tonight as it relates to helping you discover this process of self-discovery. It takes work. It takes the help of somebody skilled at what they do to help you make discoveries about yourself. And I make no qualms about it. I'm not shy about it. I'm one of those people, and that's what I've been gifted to do, is help people come more into full alignment of their authentic selves, who God has created them to be. So I would love to help you in that process. You can visit me at jamesperkins.help to schedule an appointment with me, and I would love to talk with you, see how I can help you, see how I can serve you. All right, friends, until next week, I'll see you then. Peace. Actually, next week we're on a bye week because of Thanksgiving, but I'll be back the week after next. All right, friends, take care. Have a safe rest of your week. Deuces.